Uneducated, unfiltered, unhinged. This is the Mangina Dialogues. We at it again with your host Nick Scopes and the Gregolicious. You know how we do, cause you know we keeping it gangster and silly. Unplugged like a full swung titty. Bout get jitty, cause you know we down to the nitty and the gritty. And we make shit sound so damn pretty. Yeah, cause this unhinged comedy. And right now you're in the mix, so get ready, cause we about to get it poppin'. And we ain't stopping. Uneducated, unfiltered, unhinged. This the Mangina Dialogue.
Hello and welcome to the Mangina Dialogues. I'm your host, Nick Scopes.
Yeah, I'm the Gregolicious.
And today we have Asad Mecci, hypnotist, on. How are you, my man?
That's right, Nick. How are you, buddy? I'm good. I'm good, man, considering we're under COVID right now. I'm okay. Everything is okay here in Toronto. Things are starting to flatten over here, and fingers crossed we get a vaccine sooner than later. That's all I'm thinking about right now.
So I have a quick question. Is there anything you could do over like this call so Nick stops showing me his ass on our Zoom video that we keep in play while we're doing interviews? Like, is there anything you could do, like, over the phone to get him to stop?
I can't work miracles, all right?
God damn it. There's nothing that's going to stop this, I guess. Anyway, so besides that, how are you doing? How are you hanging in there?
Yeah, I'm hanging in there. All of our shows have been pretty much either canceled or rescheduled into 2021 and beyond. So wow. We were supposed to be pretty much touring. We just came off a pretty significant run. Since July, we did about 40 shows. In January, we did 19 shows.
Wow.
So it's been pretty hectic over the last little while. But now we were actually booked way into 2021. But things are, everybody's kind of wait and see right now, see how this is all going to play out. And, again, fingers crossed, they'll come up with a therapeutic that works, or they'll come up with a vaccine. I've been following the Oxford scientists pretty closely, and they're talking about already have started clinical trials, and they're talking about potentially having a vaccine ready for September. They're saying it's an 80% chance that they could have it ready for September. I know that the majority of the folks are saying that it's going to take 12 months to 18 months, but, fingers crossed, right? Think positive.
Hey, sure thing. Yeah, it'd be fantastic. I haven't heard that, but that's great to hear.
Yeah.
So you're based in Canada. Is it as severe up there as it is, down here? I mean, we're based outside New York City, in the mecca of all of this shit show right now. But how's it in Toronto?
No, it's not. It's across Canada. We are not at max capacity for ICUs, and we're good shape is kind of a bad thing to say, because really it's hitting the elderly population pretty hard up here.
Yeah, same.
So it's still a mess and a complete catastrophe. But comparatively speaking to New York, we're in much better shape, actually.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear what's going on in New York. I've got friends there, and my heart goes out to you guys.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it seemed like I just watched a press conference a little while ago, and it's definitely flattened out in the city, and hospitalizations are going down, and ICUs are going down, or unstable. So it's not,
it's good.
It's obviously the huge concern that it was a month ago that you're going to have people in ICUs on the streets in New York City. That obviously didn't happen.
Yep.
So it's obviously good news amongst a lot of very bad news, but,
yes.
Of course, knock on wood, it could have been much worse. So let's talk about your show with Colin. Can you just give us a little history and, a little background into how you guys got together, and, what that show is, and how long you guys have been doing it? I mean, we know the basis, of course, but our listeners don't. So just anything you could just give us a quick rundown.
Yeah, so I'm a professional stage hypnotist. At the time of the conception of the show, I was actually touring around the world doing shows for Carnival Cruise Line, Celebrity, Royal Caribbean and Disney Cruise Lines, doing my one-man act, Hypno Hype. I wanted to actually get better at the show, so I thought I'd take some improv courses at the Second City. When I was there, they would often say, the instructors would say, "Get out of your head. You're too much in your head." And what they were trying to say, from where I come from and from my world, what they're trying to say was, we want the comedy to be unconscious. We want it to be stop conscious constructing the comedy, make it more effortless in that it's a knee-jerk reaction. Stop trying to be funny. And what I realized was, hey, they're trying to get unconscious functioning from people who are taking this training. They're doing all these confusion exercises up front. They're doing all these mental games up front so that you're able to, you don't have to think about the comedy, it just comes out. And then I thought, okay, wait a second. So if I hypnotize somebody who doesn't have any experience in improv, could I make them a really good improviser? And the answer is yes. Because first-time improvisers, they'll play to the audience, they'll hesitate, they'll be unsure of themselves when they're improvising in front of a group. Then they'll try too hard. Whereas people who are hypnotized just carry out the suggestions. So if I tell somebody that they're ultra confident, they'll be ultra confident on stage. Oftentimes I'll give them scenarios where they're on a blind date, with Colin, for example, right? And if somebody who's improvising, who's not hypnotized, may try too hard, where somebody who's hypnotized, they'll just do it authentically. And it just makes for much, much more entertaining comedy. So essentially, after doing that course, I thought, okay, let's aim big, right? So I was like, okay, who could I get to work with me on this project? And of course, I thought the guys from Whose Line would be amazing.
Right.
So I sent a cold email through Colin Mochrie's website saying, hey, this is my reel. I've been touring around the world on Carnival and Celebrity and Disney. I think that hypnosis and improv would work well together. Is it possible to meet up, to discuss a project where we blend hypnosis and improv together? And Jeff Andrews, his longtime manager, got back in touch in 24 hours and said the idea was intriguing and he'd really like to meet. So to make a long story longer, essentially, we ended up meeting up. He loved the idea. We presented the idea to Colin. He thought, wow, this is really interesting and terrifying at the same time. He always says that, actually. He's always terrified about how this is going to go. Because whenever he stands in the wing, whenever he stands out of the wings, when those 20 volunteers come up on stage and I hypnotize them, he's always saying in the back of his mind, this is never going to work, right? So we get on stage after the main stage show at the Second City, and we test it out without any rehearsal. We have a loose game plan as to how we're gonna make it work, and the show's a hit. People are loving it, and from there we ended up hiring. So let me just actually talk about the format of the show. 20 volunteers come up on stage. I hypnotize them, whittle it down to the best 5 or 6 hypnotic subjects, and then enter Colin Mochrie from Whose Line Is It Anyway. Colin then improvises with the people who are hypnotized on stage while they're under hypnosis. Show's absolutely hilarious. So we end up performing at the Second City, work out all the kinks. We hire a director, and we actually hire out the John Candy Theater, the Toronto Second City.
Right.
And we bring in improvisers from the different classes, because there's the Second City Training Center attached to the Second City there. So they're all taking improv classes. We're saying, hey, do you want to come and experiment with this brand new show? And oftentimes they're like, absolutely. So it hypnotize them, and then we test out different bits and different skits and see if they even work. We weren't even sure at the beginning if they would even acknowledge Colin during the hypnosis, because we thought that there's a tunnel vision effect that occurs when somebody's hypnotized. So sometimes a really good hypnotic subject will just see the hypnotist, and all the other extraneous variables will kind of drop off. So anyway, we end up performing at the Second City. We make sure we're good. We work out all the kinks. We do the show 6 times at the Second City main stage. And then we take it on tour. We do Just for Laughs Montreal, sold that place out. Just for Laughs London, sold out a good portion of that tour. Wow. And then we go to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in 2016. In 2016, we blow it out, and then the promoter brings us back for 2017. And then the show again, it blows it out for 2017. Goes great. And and then top 10 shows to watch at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Those kind of reviews. And then we end up getting an agent and touring the show throughout North America. So we started in July of last year. We did 40 cities across North America. And then we were booked out into 2021, and then COVID hit. And then now we're just we're all in wait and see kind of mode, just trying to see what's going to happen next. So that kind of brings us to now.
When was what was your last show before this all hit?
Our last show that we did would have been, it's been 40 shows. I'm going to say one of the last shows was the show in Toronto at the Meridian Arts Center, and it was a packed house, a sold out house. It's about 1,500 seats, and the Toronto crowd was unbelievable, really welcoming.
That's awesome. What one of the questions I have about hypnosis, I've always wondered, like, how do you know who is more susceptible to it? Like, are there people that are impervious to being hypnotized?
Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm looking for tells when people come up on stage. So I'm looking for changes in weight, location of respiration. So breathing changes, skin color changes, light to dark, dark to light. Skin tonus changes. There's skin tonus changes. There's a shyness and dullness to the skin. Vasodilation, so the capillaries in the eyes become engorged. Slow, sluggish movement, muted voice. Mask-like facial expression. They should have a great poker face. Essentially, they should have no expression on their face. So if I see these traits, then I'll keep the person on stage. I'll see if I see these, this checklist, so to speak. I'll keep them on stage. If I don't, then I'll remove them. As far as can everybody be hypnotized, the majority of the population can be. 20% of the population is really good for hypnotic stage hypnosis shows. And they're somnambulists, which is, by definition, you can create positive hallucinations, negative hallucinations, and create amnesia on anything. So a positive hallucination would be, I'm going to count from 1 to 3. When I reach the count of 3, you're going to see an elephant in front of you. 1, 2, 3, and the person hallucinates an elephant. A negative hallucination would be, I'm going to count from 1 to 3. When I reach the count of 3 and say the words wide awake, for some strange reason, the audience is going to be gone, no longer there. You won't see them. So the audience, for some reason, they will absolutely look into the audience and see an empty hall when the hall's packed. And then amnesia on anything is forget your name, forget your phone number, forget where you live. So you can give suggestions around amnesia. And that's only a certain percentage of the population, approximately 20%. That's why when I do a comedy hypnosis show, I bring up 20 volunteers and I whittle it down to the best, 2 to 5 hypnotic subjects, because I know that I'm not going to get all of them.
Right. Did you ever have someone where you whittled down to the 5 and they're just like trying to, be a jerk and prove that you can't hypnotize them?
Usually if they're trying to mess with me, I usually pick it up. Yeah. Most of the time. I'd say 99% of the time, if they're just trying to mess around and joke around and make a mockery out of the show, I'll usually catch them, because they do more than I ask them to do.
Right.
Like, they play to the audience.
Yeah.
Whereas the people who are hypnotized, they're very slow and sluggish, and there's an economy of movement to when people move around when they're hypnotized. They look different, and the audience can pick up on it right away. The audience can tell when I whittle it down to the best 5, and one person looks way too normal than the other 4. The audience starts to pick up on things, say, I don't know about that guy. That
right.
doesn't make sense to me, because all of these 4 guys are exhibiting the slow, sluggish movement, economy of movement, meaning they move around pretty slow, and not a lot of exaggerated movement, unless I give them a suggestion to do so. If I do, then that changes.
So when you have
changes their behavior.
When you have them hypnotized during the show, and then when Colin comes out, are you the only one that can get them to do something because of your voice? Or if he gives the people that are hypnotized an instruction, will they react to him as well?
So I give the suggestions, and then I give them the environment and then tell them essentially to improvise within that context.
Right.
And then Colin interacts with them within that context and that environment.
Right. So, but that's because they're obviously through the hypnosis, they're trained to only react to what you're telling them to do. And then they just do it against Colin. Is that how it is in all hypnosis?
Can you be more specific?
Yeah. Okay. So let's say, I was on stage with you. I'm not hypnotized. You hypnotized 5 people. And I say to them, do this. Imagine you're an elephant. Imagine the audience is gone. Are they going to see that when I say it, or only if you say it?
Only if I say it, unless I give the suggestion that whatever Greg or Nick, whatever suggestion they give will take effect.
Right. No,
that's the only time that will work. And I don't do that with Colin because I want to control the experiment, because at times I want to be able to give them a suggestion to stop what they're doing or to readjust themselves on stage. So for safety, I'm always kind of on top of things, making sure that everything goes smoothly.
Now, how did you get started in this? Like, what made you want to become a hypnotist?
I studied the martial arts for a long time, so meditation and visualization and self-hypnosis, they're all kind of interrelated. When I was in my first year of university, one of my buddies, Ronnie Katz, he went away to Hawaii over spring break. There he was sunburned very badly. Now he's traveling with his father and his father's friend, who was a dentist who used hypnosis in his dental practice for painless dentistry.
Wow.
So Ronnie was itchy and irritated and uncomfortable because of this sunburn, and this dentist gave Ronnie the suggestion that his body was completely covered with Calamine lotion while under hypnosis, and he was no longer itchy or irritated. And Ronnie said, like that, immediately, his irritation around the sunburn was gone.
Wow.
So I was studying at the time. I spent most of my time. So at the time I was studying a commerce degree, but I spent most of my time in the psychology section of the library, learning everything that I could around hypnosis. And then later on, I started getting certified through the National Guild of Hypnotists. And, I learned neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. So I started to study it more formally later on.
How long does that take to become, from when you start studying it to
proficient?
Proficient.
Yeah, I was pretty proficient right off the bat. See, when you hypnotize somebody, it's not that difficult, but to get them to actually do something while they're hypnotized, that becomes more difficult.
Right. Is it possible, like when you hypnotize someone, that they don't come out of it?
No, it's impossible. They've run tons of experiments. Dr. Ornay, I believe, was the one who ran it out of Harvard, or Stanford. I'm not sure which one of the two. And what he did was he hypnotized a bunch of first-year psychology students. This is back, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think 1950s, 1960s, in that time period at least. And he hypnotized a bunch of psychology students in a lecture hall, turned off all the lights and left, closed the doors and left the hall, and wanted to see what would happen. And within 5 to 10 minutes, all of them came out of the lecture hall, left, came out of the hypnosis.
Wow.
So and that's been replicated a bunch of times.
So it's basically interactive. Once you stop interacting, it kind of wears off.
Yeah, it's like you're constantly cycling in and out of these trance states all the time too, right? Like you cycle in and out of a trance state. One model says that you cycle in and out of a trance state approximately 4 times an hour. So daydreaming, right? So you get so caught up. You're talking to somebody and then you start to space out and you start to daydream. That's it's normal and it's a natural state, right? Another example of hypnosis would be you watch a horror movie, right? And you get so caught up in what you're watching that you're moved to a physiological response. Your heart starts to race, your palms get sweaty. Logically, you know what you're watching on the big screen is not real, but for that moment in time, it feels really real.
Yeah.
That's a hypnotic trance state, right?
So then how does that work for, we were talking before we got on about meditation and about anxiety, but, hypnosis for smoking and weight loss is, people, you see it all the time. It's pretty prevalent. So how does that hold, after you're hypnotized? Don't smoke, right? Obviously there's more to it than that, but
so you're giving yeah, so oftentimes you're giving a post-hypnotic suggestion. So you're giving a suggestion that will take hold after the hypnosis session. So you can say something like, every single time you smell cigarette smoke, every single time somebody offers you a cigarette, every single time you hear the word cigarette spoken, it'll remind you of the fact that you're committed to remaining smoke-free for the rest of your life.
Right.
So it's setting up triggers after the hypnosis is over that will reinforce the suggestion.
Yeah, that makes sense. So talk. I mean, before you mentioned, for anxiety, certainly now when the whole world is anxious over what's going on and what's going to happen when you come out of it. Like, how does hypnosis how would it help that?
Sure. So what happens is with anxiety, people are creating a negative outcome in the future. So they're creating a catastrophic outcome in the future. And if you create a catastrophic outcome into the future, you will be anxious. So if on the other hand, you create a positive outcome in the future and something pleasant in the future, the anxiety drops away.
Right. Nick needs that.
That's it in a nutshell.
Nick absolutely needs that.
Nick,
more than anybody.
Oh boy. You have no idea.
Nick, you can go to entrancingentertainment.com and there's my audio program. You can download that.
Dude, I'm in.
And
I meditate already, but I'll do anything. That's cool.
He definitely needs the help. I mean, God. So before, when you were doing these shows on your own, obviously if you're doing them on the cruise ships, I imagine they're relatively tame, but have you ever done, you see some of these X-rated hypnotists, there's some famous comedian, hypnosis shows that are X-rated. And I used to go to one when I was in college in Boston, and they were, a lot of fun, but have you ever done anything like that?
The show that we have, HYPROV, is clean. It's for the family.
Right.
Like it is not. It's not an R-rated show. It's clean and it's fun and it's pretty entertaining and pretty PG rated. That being said, I mean, it's way harder, as you guys know, to work clean than it is to work dirty.
Sure.
It's way harder. And Colin is absolutely phenomenal at working clean. Like, I mean, I get the front row to the best comedy in the world.
Yeah.
He's absolutely hysterical. Oftentimes at the beginning when I started out with him, I would do a skit and the skit wouldn't go so well at the beginning. And then I cut it short. And then his manager, Jeff, would say, "Hey, listen, why'd you cut that skit short?" I said, "Well, we were bombing. It just didn't work." He said, "Don't ever do that. Just let Colin do his thing. Let Colin end the skit." So I started to let I let the skits breathe and let Colin do his thing. And sure enough, skit would be bombing. I'd be like, "Oh God, this is painful to watch. This is terrible." And then Colin would resuscitate the skit right in front of me and make it even better. Like he's just a genius. Like he's a comedy genius, right? To be able to work alongside him is, a dream come true. The guy is a savant. He is absolutely hysterical. Off stage too. He's mild mannered off stage. He's kind of quiet and a bit reserved. But when he's on stage, he's a bit of a wild man, right? So when you get him going, I mean, the stars align and the audience is just in tears. The audience is in tears with laughter during the show. They're literally rolling in the aisles. Like they're doubled over. There's, if you go to our Twitter feed, you go to Twitter and you go #HYPROV and you look at like the comments from the fans of the show. They're hysterical. Like, never laughed so hard before in my life. Tears of laughter and just, belly laughs. And I've been laughing so hard my abs hurt and just an ab workout. And just, I mean, it's not because of me. I play more the straight man, right? In the show, I'm the hypnotist. I'm like doing the work up front. I'm doing the heavy lifting up front, in that I'm bringing the people who are hypnotized on stage. I'm getting them motivated to be on stage. Once they get on stage, I put them into hypnosis, and then, reveal Colin Mochrie comes on stage. And then it's just like pure pandemonium. Like he's unbelievable. And he can make stuff that you would think is just, this is going to be dry, or this person who's hypnotized really slow and sluggish. Like this is going to be a bad skit. Makes just riffs off the person on stage and makes it hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, he is. I mean, obviously, improv wise, you know, I mean, the guy's
a comedy legend,
absolute genius.
Yeah, that show was unreal that he was on, dude. That was
still on.
Is it still?
Yeah,
it's on the CW.
My God,
that
show, funniest thing ever. It still is. It's great.
Yeah, it's hosted by oh my God, I forgot her name. You'd recognize her. Yeah. But still, Wayne Brady he's on it. Ryan's on it still, right? And then there's one other. Person.
Those guys are great. Yeah, Wayne's phenomenal. Ryan's phenomenal. These guys are unbelievable. I mean, Colbert, when you look back at the history of it, right? You see Robin Williams on there. You see Stephen Colbert on there as guest stars.
Yeah.
You see the biggest names in comedy on there as guest stars.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, and I might be, but I'm pretty sure that show was in the top 10 all the time when it was originally on. Like, it was always in the top shows on TV.
Oh, it's been around for 30 years. They did a reunion at Royal Albert Hall in the UK, which is, I guess, the equivalent of Carnegie Hall Plus.
Yep.
It's like 5,000 seats. And the place was absolutely jammed. Couldn't get a ticket, sold out show.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And you know, they went crazy for it because it was originally, it's a UK import, right?
Yep.
It started in the UK, did really well over there, came over to the US. I think it was on ABC. Don't quote me on that. Yep. And then there's all kinds of reincarnations of the show and iterations of the show. 140 countries around the world. Jeff Andrews, Colin's longtime manager, was telling me a story about how they landed in India. And one of the street vendors recognized Colin right away.
That's
and
amazing.
He was on the street. They're like, oh my God, because Whose Line was on high repeat in India because it's family friendly, right?
Yep.
So they were airing tons of reruns of Whose Line in India. So believe it or not, Colin and his longtime partner, Brad Sherwood, and the Colin and Brad show, they toured India and did great out there. They're having, you know, massive crowds come out to see the show.
I bet. Have you ever hypnotized him?
You know, I haven't, and we've always talked about it and when we're going to do it. And of course, I want to make it, you know, larger than life. I want to put him in an MRI and, you know, hypnotize him and see what happens to his brain waves and all the rest of it. I haven't actually hypnotized him, but I want to. I definitely want to do it at some point. We talked about how we're going to do it. I think we should videotape it and see what happens.
Absolutely, 100%.
So what's next for you guys? When is the next show after this that you're hoping, you know, you'll be able to do?
Yeah. Well, you can go to hyprov.com. That's HYPROV.com. And then you can see our tour schedule. We've got some dates up. But again, everything is so tentative right now because of the whole thing. You know, obviously the thing that's going on right now. So we've got, I think, Salem we're supposed to play, and then we're supposed to play Folsom, and then we're supposed to play Medford and Reading. But this is all very, you know, we don't know what's going to happen. So
right.
we're kind of waiting. But definitely go to hyprov.com. You can find out a lot about us. And then also you can Google me, Asad, ASAD, hypnotist, and then I'll pop up. You'll find my information there as well.
And then what do you work with people like on Zoom or how do you do that from like a remote?
Yeah, I mean so in this kind of setting, yes, I would see clients on Zoom and or Skype and talk to them about whatever it is that's ailing them as far as an issue is concerned and whatever problem they're having to talk about it.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah, we'll put all that stuff in the show notes and everything.
That'd be great, guys.
So, Nick, you want to say something?
Nope. I thought you were about to.
Oh, no, I was going to say, listen, man, we really appreciate it. It's so incredibly intriguing to both Nick and I, and we hope that once all stuff straightens out, the show comes down somewhere near us in either New York City, Connecticut, and Long Island.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it would be one of my top shows to hit as soon as all this opens up.
Yeah, that'd be great, guys. Really appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, thanks
For
a
sure.
lot, man.
We
Stay
gotta
safe.
get Greg on stage though at one of these shows. I want him hypnotized.
Oh, I'm down. No
All
problem.
the video evidence to embarrass the shit out of him. For us.
That's fine. You can do it. No problem.
Send him up.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, brother.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.